I'm Leanne Teague. I'm the Director of Finance at BGC Canada. I have been there 5 years. And in that time, the organization has grown quite dramatically, and there's been quite a bit of staff turnover, and we've been through a pandemic. So we've kind of had it all in one.
Hi there, Les Hornfeld from Responsible Gambling Council. I've been with the organization for just under 3 years. I've spent a number of years in the not-for-profit sector as well as in the private sector. Worked for the feds, worked abroad, been involved in different implementations, and really enjoyed the experience with the Sage Intacct implementation. Thanks.
Good. So like anything in life, it's good to learn from the past, to prepare for the future, and to live in the moment and value the moment. So what we're going to do is to take a journey with Leanne and Les right now. We're going to take a step backwards about where they were at, what they were using prior to their migration, their move, their journey to Sage Intacct. Then we're going to take a moment and we're going to talk about the actual journey. So I think many of you here are perhaps Sage 300 customers who are thinking, hey, we're very intrigued by what we see. We understand the power of Sage Intacct, but we're still not sure about the journey. So Leanne and Les will talk about the journey, BAS being their business partner through that journey of implementation. Then we're going to finish that journey off with the present day and what they're experiencing. What return on investment, finance team efficiencies, and other things, have they come to realize since they've gone live. So with that, Leanne, will you just maybe share a little bit about, what was your previous state before migrating? What were you using? And maybe you can talk a little bit about the structure of your finance team, maybe as they were then or as they're now. And then we'll pass it over to Les and then back to you guys to talk about the journey.
Well, great, thanks. I'm glad you narrowed it down. That started off as quite a lot. So we were originally using Great Plains. If you were in a session a couple before, you would have been familiar with that. We were a 2012 version, and they were phasing that out. And so we were looking at something to replace that. We also wanted to move to the cloud because having a server sitting in our corner office wasn't working for us. We needed to have someone who could do the updates. We needed to pay somebody else to make sure it was all there. And our finance team was a fairly small team. We were a team of 3 or 4. And the people who had set up the system had since moved on, which meant that the new team wasn't skilled in Great Plains. And we found Great Plains to be very much a database and not really accounting-like. I had put Sage Intacct in a previous organization, so I knew the power of it. And with it being on the cloud, we knew we wouldn't have to do any of the updates ourselves. We knew it would just do it automatically in the background. And the ability that it gave us to have insight into our numbers was just dramatic. And so when it came to looking at the various products that were out there, we were also at the same time looking at revamping our CRM. And I know this isn't a discussion about CRM, but we wanted Sage Intacct to be able to integrate with our CRM. And so there was another team looking at that, and they had picked Salesforce. So we were limited in from the accounting perspective which system we could use that would integrate with that, and we knew Sage Intacct could do that. So for us, it was a front runner that it was easy to pick. As I said, I'd used it before, so I knew what it was capable of. Can I stop there and pass on, and then we'll do implementation afterwards?
Yeah, implementation. But before you stop I want to connect 2 different dots. One is a very simple one that Leanne and I share. And when we were talking, Leanne graduated from Rhodes University, which I thought was very cool because our son's middle name is Rhodes. So I thought, I like this already. Anyways, the second part is Leanne was involved in 2 implementations. So I'm going to connect 2 other dots. One I talked about earlier today. She worked at ALS and had that implementation. The lead consultant was Joe Paterniak. And at Boys and Girls Club, the lead consultant was Paramin. So you'd heard me talk earlier today of the 2 best implementation people, bar none, across Canada, any partner, are these 2. So Leanne's had the pleasure of doing both, and I said they were both created equal, so we'll leave it at that. Les, why don't you tell your story?
So I came on board with Responsible Gambling Council back in the summer of 2020, and one of my mandates was to move us into the 21st century in our technology space. We had our older version of Sage back to Sage 50, remote desktop environment, and we had no CRM platform, and I was really looking to go forward with 2 implementations, but priority number 1 was a financial software implementation. When I met up with Sage Corporate, I told them what our wants and needs were. They ultimately put me in touch with BAS, which led me to see some demos on the Intacct platform. But really the key we needed to move forward is we had a management team that couldn't get proper quarterly reporting. We had a board, we had an audit committee that couldn't get proper financial reporting. So I knew we had to move very quickly for purposes of getting into the new world. And the beauty of the Intacct platform was multifold. A, it was cloud-based. B, it allowed us to bring in a product line with the EFT system where we were able to use a partner of the Intacct platform so that we could actually move forward much better in the AP space through an EFT environment with the vendor side and with our bank. And I had team members who were excited about change, which was critical. You had to get your team to be excited because change is scary, but change is exciting. I heard from our management group what they wanted, and when we met up with BAS and I started to see some demos with Paramount from BAS, and my team members got involved, and we could see what was needed. My history through my experience has been the best time to cut over is at the end of a fiscal year. And our fiscal year is March 31st. So we probably signed the statement of work with BAS maybe around December, and we had about 4 months to turn around to go live. Now that puts a lot of pressure on the organization, but you know what? You have to have the pressure, and you've got to have the tight critical path if you're going to hit the date you want. And I remember BAS saying to me, Les, we'll get it done if your team can get it done. And we were able to get it done. While we were talking about the Intacct implementation, that's where I heard about the CRM initiative, because there's an integration between the Intacct side and the CRM side, and they put us with in touch with another group from BAS on the CRM side. So we actually had 2 concurrent implementations going at the same time. I used the term we were moving at warp speed, but it was great at the end. So that's a little bit of my background with the implementations.
Thank you. Thank you. Leanne, did you want to talk a little bit about because you also had an impressive, and when Les and Leanne will talk about it, they've got their day job, so it's not like they're working 8 hours a day doing a Sage Intacct implementation. This is where BAS comes in very, very handy, and really has the experience. BAS has done, Chuck, 160, 180 implementations, 300 implementations of Sage Intacct in Canada, so they've got a lot of experience in dealing with a lot of different organizations. And it's having been involved in some of the implementations and actually going through and talking to these customers after through go live celebrations, it's just nice to hear the stories. And it's not always rocky. There's a lot of things that go on, but when you hear about the after stay, which we will. So Leanne, maybe you can talk a little bit about your journey as well, because I think it was a 4-month implementation as well.
It was. So we started off with a team of 4, a finance team of 4, and I think we must have signed something about November of 2019. Everything was looking great, and then the pandemic hit and everything closed down in March, and we lost one of our team members. So we were down to 3 team members with a go-live date of 1 July, because we didn't do it at the end of the fiscal year. Our fiscal year is December, so we thought we'd do it halfway through the year. We were also running both systems concurrently. We decided we would do that. Seemed like a good idea at the time. And it probably drove Paramount and the team absolutely mad, because they did walk with us 100% of the way. I from a project management point of view, I didn't have to do so much. I had to provide the stuff. Bass managed it for us and took us through every week, took us through and said, here, this is where you are, this is what you need to do, this is where you're behind here, this is what you need to focus on. And we needed that. Really, there were 3 of us just trying to get everything done, running 2 systems. We did stuff after hours as well, so really grateful that Bass came alongside us and also did stuff after hours. And at the end of the day, we did go live on 1 July, and it was actually fairly painless in the big scheme of things. We just physically stopped using the old system and moved over to the new one. UAT must have happened at some point. I don't remember it, but it must have happened. And honestly, I can tell you right from the start, the reporting that came out, the numbers that came out, there was such a greater reliance on it because there was so much distrust in our earlier system. So that in itself gave us the confidence as a team of 3 to carry on. We went through the audit at the end of the year, and the auditors were actually quite pleasantly impressed. They did say it was going to take extra time to audit it. It went well. We had all the documentation that we needed, and that was actually quite remarkable in itself.
Excellent, thank you. So we heard about the before, the during, so let's hear about after. And you know, this will tie into another part of the conversation as well, but perhaps, Leanne, just stay with the mic and just, you know, now that you've been using it for a few years, you've gone through 3 audits, you've gone through year ends, month ends, you know, you've built up reporting and you're sharing information around your organization. Tell us what life is like now for your team and you. And, you know, as you guys heard when I spoke earlier today about, you know, when you empower your finance team with a tool that's a very, very powerful and intuitive, and it's a tremendously powerful reporting and analytics system, what does that do for your Office of Finance? What does it do for what they're delivering, being able to move away from manual processes to having them automated to be able to do more strategic work for their organization? And what it delivers is what I think is the most beautiful thing, is those finance people feel valued within their organization. And when the finance people feel valued within their organization, they become leaders, each and every one of them. So, Leanne.
Wow, that was a lot. So I think the best takeaway from us is our month end has closed. The month end close has gone from 10 days to 5. In fact, this month we just closed today just so that we could actually get everybody the reports and get the budgets out to people to actually start their year-end forecasting, because that's what you do as an accountant. But the finance team we've just found we've got more time in the day, that we can actually spend more time in analysis than actually generating the reports, putting the journals in, because things just work so much more smoothly. I think the biggest thing for us, though, in the last 3 years, our organization has seen a lot of money flowing into us from the federal government because of the work we're doing, because we're able to report what they need to see. And we can do that by pulling the numbers really quickly and easily from the financials. It also, the way we can code stuff, we're just finding that the information that's going in is a lot more reliable. So the information we're getting out is a lot more reliable. And if it wasn't for the system where we could easily pull the information, we wouldn't have been able to do the reporting properly, and I really don't think we would have had the support from the federal government that we did. We wouldn't have seen the funds being able to flow out to our clubs that are all part of the federation. They wouldn't have seen the funding. So all in all, it's been really good, a good partner for us to make us achieve what we need to achieve.
So just to add on a couple of beautiful things for us in the Intacct world, where the fact that we were in a single database, multiple entities, single database, ease of intercompany allocation, the ease of drill down. Beautiful thing is when you're looking at EFT batches, we have all our invoices and backup documentation right there in the batch. I don't have to email anyone. I can see exactly what I need to see for any questionable transactions or any large transactions, ensure everything's been signed off. My team members love it. Our board loves it. The audit committee loves it. And then as well, we have some government funding dollars from a couple different agencies, and they have very strict quarterly reporting guidelines and methods. So we were able to build out our reporting to match what they needed each quarter. So not only did we have internal financial reporting, but we had specific customized reporting to meet their needs. I mean, that's just a huge time saver. And the fact that it's cloud-based just is another huge win for us. So ease of access at any point in time. So overall, it's been great. And then the fact it's multi-segment, so we can expand our departments. We had a little bit of a merger environment take place in the last fiscal year, ease of merger of entities. I could go on for a couple days, but I'm sure you don't want to hear that.
So cloud-based is certainly, and with the data residency here in Canada, you know, any sort of issues on data residency goes away. So, you know, we do work with, you know, AWS, and that's where the data is stored. So obviously totally secure. But, you know, I implore you, you know, don't make change for change's sake, but, you know, take a look at what the options are. And there's many options for those of you who are Sage 300 customers, as Chuck eloquently talked about at the outset of the session at 11 o'clock. You know, Sage Intacct just being one of them. But I'd like to kind of shift, and I would like to open this up because we have a few more minutes. But one of the things I love to talk about when I talk at universities or colleges or to prospects or any events or giving back is digital transformation and financial management modernization. And so what is digital transformation? We're hearing a lot about it, but it's quite simply, it's the confluence of people, process, and technology. People are your most valuable assets, you know, within the finance team, and to empower them and to make their jobs more valuable within the organization is a powerful thing in itself. Processes tend to be very manual. We have many customers running Sage 50 or Sage 300, customers that have migrated over from QuickBooks or various organizations that are doing 80% of their reporting and 80% of their work consolidations in Excel. That's a manual process to me. So to be able to automate the processes, whether it's automating your procure to pay, your accounts receivables, your accounts payables, whether it's leveraging the features that are built directly into the product, AI and machine learning. You know, there's many examples of them, including anomaly detection. So it's a machine learning algorithm that is human taught, that will allow you to go through all your journal entries in seconds to point out anomalies. These are just one or two of the things here. So digital transformation, people, process, and it's powered by technology. So I would like to open it up to Leanne and Les just to talk about your own organizations and what you're seeing, the difference you're seeing on that side.
So I think one of the beautiful things about the Intacct platform is it really allows us to get information at our fingertips in real time. And so if we have questions, queries, or concerns from other team members or management groups about where they are in the spend categories or where they want to get a drill down on vendor information or client information, it's ease of access, ease of reports, whether you're exporting them into Excel documentation or PDF documentation. And the beautiful thing as well with the Intacct platform is that crossover into the CRM integration. So it allows us to have that sweet spot too, where we can see on the CRM side our active client base. So that's really a couple of the key areas. But I think the also beautiful thing is the fact that there's ongoing implementation changes and customization that's there for us. We work closely with BAS when we have implementation change requirements, and they work with us very closely on those needs. And that's so important as the evolution of our business changes and our wants and needs change, both by management and by our stakeholders. So it's this ongoing evolution that is so important for us in this digital space.
And I think what I can add is the whole automation of that Sage Intacct does allow. Case in point, we used to capture our invoices manually, so we do membership fees to our clubs. We used to do that manually. Now we can import that, and so we no longer have to sit and capture them, and it reduces the errors that comes from manual processing, and it frees up time to allow us to take on other things and to research other things that are more interesting. our budget for the longest time was in Excel. And beautifully, we managed it in Excel. We did our forecast in Excel in that same file. But we all know if a formula breaks, the file breaks. Once it's uploaded into Intacct, we can put those changes in, and we can actually pull the reports with the budget right there. So yes, we still do the calculations in Excel, but the actual analysis and reporting is actually done through Intacct. And it just, again, reduces the errors, and it increases the reliance on the finance team and the trust in the finance team, because the numbers we give are consistent. We're not changing from month to month, like, oh, sorry, oh yeah, there was a mistake in that file. So we definitely have found that there's less reliance on Excel as the reporting tool, but rather now in the one true database.